ለመማር ወደ ትምህርት ተቋም መሄድ ግድ አይደለም።
ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
ራሳችሁን ከኮሮና ቫይረስ ወረርሽኝ እየጠበቃችሁ በቤታችሁ ወይም በተመቻችሁ ቦታ
በኢንተርኔት አማካኝነት በኦንላይን ትምህርታችሁን መከታተል ይቻላል።
ካናዳ ከሚገኘው ኢንተርናሽናል ኤር ትራንስፖርት አሶሲዬሽን አያታና
ከእንግሊዙ ኢንስቲትዩት ኦፍ ኮመርሻል ማኔጅመንት ICM ጋር በመተባበር የሚሰጡ ትምህርቶችን ተከታትላችሁ በ6 ወር ጊዜ በዓለም አቀፍ ደረጃ ተቀባይነት ያለውን የስልጠና ማስረጃ ባለቤት መሆን ይቻላል።
ከኢትዮጵያ ሲቪል አቪዬሽን ባለስልጣን ሙሉ ዕውቅና ባገኘንባቸው የፍላይት ኦፕሬሽን እና የሆስተስ ስልጠናም በምዝገባ ላይ ነን።
ጥያቄና መልስ፣ የክፍል ስራዎች ብሎም ፈተና መፈተን ክፍል ውስጥ እንዳላችሁ አይነት
ልምድ ባላቸው መምህራን እየተማራችሁ
በኦንላይን ባላችሁበት ቦታ።
አድራሻ ከ22 ማዞሪያ ወደ ሾላ ገበያ በሚወስደው መንገድ 150 ሜትር ገባ ብሎ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ
የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ
ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
Is there any major issue that needs to be clarified in the assignment? There was a question that somebody asked me about price, the selling price. That was in question 2. And I responded by saying that if you understand the formulas, the formula for CVP analysis, like if you have been given the contribution margin, you know contribution margin is equals to selling price minus variable cost per unit. So if you know the contribution margin and you know the selling price, you know the variable cost per unit, can you get the selling price? Okay. So it's just a question of making the missing, the unknown, the subject, and get answers accordingly. And use the known to get the unknown. Is there any question that needs clarification on the assignment? I know right now you are overwhelmed with assignments because everybody is trying to clear up the course. But you should remember that you need to give time to each and every course so that you are able to finish up in good time. Any question, general question, or question related to the assignment?
Doctor, I have one question.
Yes, Mohammed. Yeah.
Is there any possibility for a variance to be unfavorable while it is positive?
Unfavorable while it is positive.
Positive, yeah.
Yeah, there's a possibility if it is sales that you are analyzing. Yeah, because when it's positive for sales, it means it's unfavorable. And when it's negative for sales, it means it's favorable. This is, for example, looking at the price. If that or the sales volume. If the sales volume, the targeted or the standard is, or the budgeted $1,000, but you end up selling $900, the difference is positive because 1,000 minus 900, you get positive 100, all right? But that's not favorable because we ought to surpass the 1,000 that was targeted. That's when we generate more profits, all right? If we sell beyond the target. So yes, but for sales analysis, variant analysis, of course, we have price analysis, we have volume and all that, which you had discussed as you remember. So it's possible, but if you are analyzing sales. But if you are analyzing cost, Then cost, if it's positive, then that means it is a favorable, because the standard or the budgeted is more than what you actually spent. And that's why I said when you are doing a variance analysis, you always start with the budgeted figure or the standard figure, because that is the benchmark. So when you get the cost that you had planned to spend is less than the whatever you actually spend, then that is a negative, all right? It will give you a negative result, which is unfavorable, okay? But the opposite happens with the sales analysis. Mohammed?
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. Is it okay, or there's something more that you are looking at?
So I understand that there will be a difference when it is cost and when it is like
Revenue, yes.
the sales variance.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that always positive is not favorable.
It doesn't mean, or it means?
No, positive always. When it is positive, it doesn't mean that it's always favorable. Yeah.
What, cost or revenue?
Yeah, for
Cost
a cost,
or
it's for a cost, negative
Yeah.
is good. I think.
Yes.
For revenue, it's not good, or unfavorable.
No. Be careful so that you don't mix up. Huh? When it is a cost, if you get your variance being negative, you know, we are always starting with the budgeted figure, isn't it? And comparing with the actual. So when the budgeted figure is more than the actual, then you will get a positive result, and that is favorable. But when the budgeted figure is less than the actual result, all right, then you will get the actual cost, then you will get a negative result, which is unfavorable. So in other words, what you are saying, for cost, negative results will give us unfavorable state. But for revenue or sales, negative result will give us a positive state, which is favorable. Okay, and you get a negative when the target sales is less than the actual sales. Okay, when the target sales is less than the actual sales, then you get favorable state. But when the actual state, the budgeted sales are more than the actual sales, then you get a negative. Sorry, you get a positive variance, which is unfavorable for sales. I don't know whether you're getting that clearly or I'm confusing you. So it depends with that's why we said these are just the teaching principles. Always start with the budgeted figure. And when you find that the budgeted figure is for cost, if it is less than the actual, then of course your results will be unfavorable because you are spending more than what you anticipated to spend. Then your results will be unfavorable. But when you find a cell, all right, standard, you start with standard. When the standard cell is more than the actual cell, then you end up getting an unfavorable state because we are supposed to surpass the sales figure or the target figure. When we surpass the target figure, then we are well, and that is a favorable state. Okay. Yeah, but when you find that our target sales is less than the actual, when you find our target sales is more than the actual, then you get an unfavorable state. stated that is adverse.
Thank you, doctor. The other issue is that sometimes we use budget, and sometimes we use standard. I think they are the same. They are the same.
They are the same. They are the same. But standard is normally used when we are using like selling price, a selling price or variable cost per unit, when you are expressing figures in singular. But budgeted, we want to put the figures in volume, all right? Like when you talk of a selling price of $10 per unit, that is a standard figure. But when you talk of a selling price, if you know the target volume, the target units that you need to sell, and the selling, you just multiply with the selling price to get the budgeted figure. So you budget in terms of the figures, which is actually the amount. A budget is mostly expressed in figures, because when you are spending, you spend in terms of figures, right? You spend in terms of money. You don't spend in terms of units. So you spend in terms of amount. So that's when budget comes in. But they are one and the same thing. Same way you arrive at the budget figure, you have to use the standard figures. The same way you arrive at the budget figure, you can always go back to get the standard figures. So they are one and the same thing, all right? So don't get confused when you get a question giving you the standard figures or the standard units, and the other one giving you the budgeted units. Budgeted is most cases expressed in terms of volume, and standards are mostly expressed in terms of units, or a singular unit, like a selling price, and the other one is expressed as sales. Budget is now expressed as sales, but in the standard is expressed as selling price. But in the analysis, they are one and the same thing. Because if you know the units that you need to sell, then you can always get the volume the amount that you need to generate from sales, all right? Which now you need to budget with, so that you see you can always determine the budgeted profit, or in advance. You can always see the budgeted profit in advance. So it's good working with that. When it comes to budgeting, and when it comes to figures, and like sales is as a question of policy. If our selling price is this, then that is it. We can always change it or maintain it, all right? But now the units change with time. Is that clear, Mohammed?
Yes. Thank you, doctor. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Any other question? Yes, Getachew.
To be fair, I think, thank you for the explanation, doctor. To be fair, it is good to proceed with the other, because the assignment is not yet finalized by the other groups.
So you're asking for?
Just proceed for today's session, rather than explaining the assignment issues, because it is not yet finalized.
The assignment is not yet finalized.
Yes.
So you want more 2 days?
No. We have some of them finalized. And, this will give. Just I'm asking you the awareness.
You're asking the?
No need of giving additional explanation on the assignment, because it's not yet finalized, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm not actually answering the questions directly, but I'm trying to give hints on what is actually what is for the general understanding. Okay, what is for the general understanding, and that is a general question like what Mohammed asked about confusion between budgeted figure and standard figure. That's okay. And even the first question about if you can have a variance that is unfavorable cost. I think they're general answers, and they are still accepted. Gutu, yes, Gutu, you have raised your hand.
Yeah.
Yes, come on.
So on the eighth question, on the first question, it asks us to evaluate the fixed overhead capacity variance. I won't talk about numbers, so you say you are giving hints. We have already submitted also. You know, it says the fixed overhead capacity variance is the formula. Can I say it or?
Okay, so your question is about the formula.
No. I want to ask you the one term in that formula.
What I mean in that formula?
One term. There is one term which called standard fixed overhead rate.
Yes.
Yeah, we should find that. I think in there is also another formula for that.
Yeah, I said formulas are applied depending on what you've been given by the examiner. So that's why you may find a variety of formulas, but you end up getting the same results. So you have to look at what have you been given by the examiner. So look at the figure that you've been given and make use of those figures to arrive at the variance. So if you really understand the variables that form up that formula and how to arrive at them, then look at what you've been given by the examiner and then use what you've been given by the examiner to arrive at the right figures that will help you determine the variance. So there are cases when you will be given for example, the selling price per unit, and there are cases you will not be given the selling price per unit. So, and you are asked to determine the selling price variance, right? Or the price variance, the sales price variance. So what do? You look at what you have and then probably go an extra mile and determine the selling price, and then which will enable you now determine the variance. The essence here is you need to understand the formula critically. What is given in the formula can be varied depending on the situation that you are handling, right? Depending on the situation that you are handling. So when we talk of a formula, it's just a standard formula, but you look at the circumstances. What is the situation that is being handled, right? How to derive these figures? How to derive like a fixed overhead variance, fixed overhead expenditure variance, all right? For example, fixed overhead expenditure variance. Even look at the illustration that we used. What figures did we get? What figures did we pick from the illustration that you're given? And then now go further and ask yourself, how else can I get this figure given the information that I have at hand, all right? Because you can always derive a figure from the information that you have, because I cannot, or no examiner will ask you a question which it will be difficult for you to get a figure from the information given. So all the information provided will always help you get the figures. So all you need to do is just probably to think beyond just the formula, all right? And then now try to see how you can compute the variables that will feed in that formula using the information that is given. That's what I can say. Don't stick to the formula the way it is, so that you just go and pick and substitute. No, you have to. There are figures that may be given indirectly. There are those ones that may be given directly. So you have to be careful so that you look at what you've been given, and then use the information you've been given to determine the relevant figures that you require to determine your variance. That's what I can say, because
Okay, Doc.
we are still in the process of doing the assignment. So
Yeah.
think outside just
Yeah.
the formula, all right? Think outside just the
But
formula.
you know, for example, I want you to give me
Yeah.
hints on number 2, third equation.
Number 2, second question. What is the question
So
asking for?
It asks for if the sales price is reduced by 10%.
Yes.
What would be the new break-even point? So the question is, do we do the question based on the first question or the second question, since they have two different terms for volume, numbers or for volume or quantity?
Okay. Now, what you need to do, what is the question asking you to do? Just, yeah, what is the question?
Break-even point.
The new break-even. The new break-even point, isn't it?
But
What
the point
the
is, based on which question, the first or the second, since it has two volume or quantity, which is determined for each. It doesn't specify on which we depend to find the required.
Now, in most cases, when a question may have parts, like part 1, part 2, part 3, or section A, section B, section C, all right? In most cases, when you find a question referring to another section, which is part of the question, it will be stated in that question, all right? Because they will ask you, what is the new break-even point when it is as per your results in part B above, all right? But you see, this question is just asking you generally. So you have to just to, again, use the information given generally to address, try to address questions independently, unless it is said so within the question. For example, if a question, part C is asking you a question that's related to part D or to part B, they would always specify that according to your results in part B, all right? But this one is just not relating to any other section, subsection of the question. Then you always go back to the new original information that you're given, okay? Now, about that question of selling price and all that, you need to determine a fresh contribution margin within a new selling price.
Exactly.
With the new selling price. So ignore now the old contribution margin, because that is another question independent from this one. Am I communicating?
But it is related to the first, the general question with only with regard to the price, the reduced price.
Well, you see now, like the price, the general question probably has given the price, but now you are told it's reduced by a certain percentage. Then you use the general information price as a starting point.
Sure.
Yes.
So we only depend on the sales price, but take the other as a constant from the first question.
Yeah, the others do not change because you have not been told that they changed. All right?
Yeah.
The others don't change because you have not been told that they changed. You have only been told that the selling price changed, isn't it?
The price change is based, I'm sorry, the price change is dependent on the contract price, the original price. You can't simply change it. Contract price reduced by certain amounts, and you can depend on that.
Yes. Is there anything else that changed? There was let me just see the question.
Look, let me tell you. In the first question, in the second question, we do have two quantities.
Yes.
So which quantity do we use? We have to take quantity. We have to get it.
Now,
Which quantity? It doesn't give any insight for quantity to find.
Okay, now my question is, the selling price has changed, isn't it?
Yeah, it is
Then
reduced.
it means the quantity will also change, because you want to make a target break-even point. You use the new selling price to determine the new target break-even point.
Yeah.
So the break-even point will also change because the selling price has changed.
Yeah.
How do you determine the selling price? How do you determine the break-even point?
Yeah, there's formulas for there that you can drive from the for.
Yeah, so you will have to come up with a new quantity because the selling price has changed. So if you know the break-even point is equals to fixed cost over a contribution margin, and contribution margin has an element of selling price, right? Then everything will change if the selling price changes. Good, am I communicating?
Except the fixed cost.
Except the fixed costs. Fixed costs do not change. They are constant. They are the same, whether there's an increase in variable cost or selling price or whatever. Yeah, but there are cases when you can be told that they changed at some point, isn't it? Yeah, but in this case, look at the question and what you've been given. Then use what you have been given. Don't bring in your own information, all right? Because you'll end up misleading yourself.
So is that necessary to find the quantity? What if you use just only price to find it?
You're asking whether it's necessary to determine the profit, the quantity?
The quantity, yeah. What if we take
What is the question asking you to do? What is the question asking you to do?
New sales break even.
To calculate the point when the
price.
The new breaking even. The new break even.
Yeah, if it's reduced.
And the new break even is expressed in terms of what?
In terms of fixed cost, in terms of fixed and the margin ratio.
Okay. There are two types of break-even points. We have break-even points in units and break-even points in sales.
Yeah.
So how do you get for sales without getting for units? All right. So you must get for units first, and then now you use the selling price to determine the one for sales by just multiplying the units times the selling price. Good. Are we together?
Yeah.
Yes. So is it necessary or not necessary?
Yeah, it seems necessary.
Good. Very good. Yeah. Morges, you raised your hand? And I can't see you, Morges. You had raised your hand? Okay. Any other question? Geracheo?
Look.
Yes.
I'm back.
Yes.
But we can find break-even volume in units or volume without using quantity.
When you have quantity and you know the selling price. Okay. Hello? Hello?
Yeah,
When
I got you. I got
you get it, eh? When you have volume, when you have quantity, and you know the selling price, you'll always get the sales figure by multiplying the two. Mohammed, yes. Mohammed, you raised your hand. Hello, Mohammed, come up. Mohammed. Okay, anybody else with a question? Anybody else with a question? A general question?
General question, maybe?
Yes, yes, Gerachew, come up, yes.
Yeah, doctor, we are running out of time and heading to the exam. So is it possible to wrap up the class very soon so that we can invest our time on the remaining time on the to study on the for the exam? Over to you.
Okay, now you need to guide me because I was planning to revise the assignment now, but it looks like a majority of you have not cleared with the assignment, and you want to be given time.
No, we did.
Yeah.
We did our assignment, all of our assignment, I think, and the majority did that. But for the remaining marks, we need some time for the exam. That is my assumption.
Okay. What is the rest's opinion? What do the rest say?
Yeah, as per Gage is saying, it would be good if you could read the next, especially starting from tomorrow, as far as it is Sunday, it will be broad time, so that we can invest on updating and correcting such kind of corrections.
So you needed time in which manner so that
Let's wind it up.
We wind the class today.
Yes, yes, doctor. Thank you.
So we don't revise the assignment. You're okay with the assignment the way it is? Or I have addressed now the critical areas?
We have already done it. Therefore,
yeah, we are expecting marks. Yeah, we are expecting marks out of it. Yeah, we're expecting marks
out of it. Yeah.
Yes, and leading to the final exam. That's it.
በትምህርት ከፍ ብሎ መብረር ይቻላል። ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ከከፍተኛ ትምህርት አግባብነትና ጥራት ኤጀንሲ ሙሉ ዕውቅናን ባገኘንባቸው በማስተርስ ዲግሪ ኤምቢኤ በስትራቴጂክ ማኔጅመንት፣ ኤምቢኤ በባንኪንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ ኤምቢኤ በቢዝነስ ሊደርሺፕ፣ ኤምቢኤ በሪስክና ኢንሹራንስ፣ ኤምኤስሲ በኢንተርናሽናል ትሬድ እና ኢኮኖሚክስ ዘርፎች በእውቀት ለመቅረጽ የበቁ ፕሮፌሰሮቻችን አረንጓዴ መብራታቸውን አብርተዋል። በነገራችን ላይ በኬንያ ሀገር ከሚገኙ ስመጥር ዩኒቨርሲቲዎች በሚመጡ ፕሮፌሰሮች የትኩረት መስክ ትምህርቶቹ መሰጠታቸው ልዩ ያደርገናል። በምርጥ የትምህርት ስርዓት የተገነባው ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ በመጀመሪያ ዲግሪ በአቪዬሽን ማኔጅመንት፣ በሆቴል ማኔጅመንት፣ በአካውንቲንግ እና ፋይናንስ፣ በማርኬቲንግ ማኔጅመንት አስተማማኝ ትምህርት ይገቢውና ራስዎንና ሀገሮን ይለውጡ። አድራሻ 22 አደባባይ ወደ ሾላ በሚወስደው መንገድ ላይ ናሽናል አቪዬሽን ኮሌጅ የናሽናል ኤርዌይስ እህት ኩባንያ ህልሞን እውን ያደርጋል።
Okay, probably what I can talk about the final exam is I think majority are for this, that we wind up today, which I have no problem with that, because for me, I know I've done my part. I've covered all the topics that are in the course content. and or in the course outline, and I think we are together at this point. We have done the necessary illustrations, the necessary assignments that will help you towards revision for exams. So as you go into your revision, try to look at what you've done so far in class, and try to do more and more illustrations. You need to do more and more illustrations for you to be at home with this kind of calculations. Of course, the exam will not be 100% calculations. There will be theory questions. You realize that in most of my assignments, I try to mix up theory and calculations, so that I know not everybody is good in calculation, and I know that not everybody is good in calculation and in a theory. So there are those. So I try to strike a balance. But in general, you need to be up to date with all areas, because this is an application kind of course where you need this knowledge to help you execute your duties as a manager in whichever position you are, either human resource manager, strategic management manager. And I hope up to this point you appreciate managerial accounting as a very important unit or course in your curriculum as or in your training as a manager, because you need this information to make decisions, and this information adequately help you make certain decisions. We've looked at several areas. We've looked at variance analysis. We've looked at TVP analysis. We've looked at cost classifications and all this, and how they help managers in making decisions. So I just want to request that you do more and more exercises. I'm still on course. I have you have my number, my email address. Any questions, you are free to send to me, and I will be able to clarify in whichever way. The same number, I use it on WhatsApp, so you can always even call me on WhatsApp, or you can send a message on WhatsApp using the same number. That is the local number is 722-353248. But of course, the first code is +254. Is it?
Doctor, I was trying to talk, but I was muted. So
okay,
if you allow me, I have some explanation question about one or two issues.
Yes.
One of them is like the difference between direct labor and variable overheads.
Direct labor and variable overhead.
Yeah, when to use them and what their difference.
Okay, so when you talk of variable overheads and direct labor, now direct labor is a direct cost. Direct labor is a direct cost, and it forms part of the prime cost of production. So there are basically three types of costs that form part of the direct cost of production. One, we have direct material cost. Direct material cost is part of direct cost of production. The cost of material is part of direct cost of production. Direct labor cost is part of direct cost of production. And then we have direct expenses or direct overheads. We have direct overheads, which are also part of the direct production cost. All right. So fixed costs are not part of the production cost because they are fixed and we incur them whether we produce or not. So the three are the ones that form part of direct cost. Now, I remember there was a question that was giving you the cost of direct material, cost of direct labor, and direct overheads. So it means if you want to get the total variable cost of production, then you have to add all the three because one represents the direct material, another one represents the direct labor, and another one represents the direct overhead or direct expenses. So the total of them will give you the direct cost of production, which will actually be the variable cost because those ones change with the level of production. So the other one is now the fixed cost, which does not change. Okay, that one does not change. So when when you talk of direct material, direct labor, and direct overheads, we are referring to now the total variable cost. It can be per unit or for the whole production, because if you know the units that were produced and you know the total variable cost per unit, then you can always multiply to get the total variable cost that we have incurred. So there are cases when direct material, direct labor are part of the variable cost that we incur for production purposes. So when you talk of per unit, then it means is addition of all this, the ones that change with the level of production. Is that okay, Mohammed?
Yeah, thank you, doctor. What about the variable overhead? What does it mean, variable overhead?
Now, variable overheads, these are expenses that are incurred depended on the level of production. I can give you an example. If it is, for example, a company manufacturing chairs, isn't it? A company manufacturing chairs. There are expenses that we incur for manufacturing of these chairs. For example, it can be pins or nails, all right? Pins or nails, which are part of expenses that we incur to fix the chairs, all right? Then those are variable costs because you don't just, every chair does not consume all the pins that you bought. It depended on the size of the chair or the number of chairs that you're producing. So you'll just use probably the level of the number of pins that you require for that chair. Okay, but when you buy them, you're not incurring a lot to buy them. You're just incurring a small amount just to buy them, but they are needed to fix a chair. So you can buy depending on the number of chairs that you want to produce. So these are now the examples I'm giving as expenses which are incurred in relation to the level of activity. Another example is if it is a machine that is being used and its usage is dependent on the level of production. So like you fuel a machine when you want to produce. When you are not producing, then you don't fuel it. So fuel can be a small expenditure that you are just incurring just to produce. So it can be grouped under a variable overhead because you use it when you are producing. If you are not producing, you are not using it. Okay, it's different from lighting a manufacturing department. When you are lighting a manufacturing department, you are manufacturing all units. It cannot be allocated to a particular unit. So that means the amount that you spend on light. Okay, it would be uneconomical to apportion that, though it can be apportioned, right? But it will be so uneconomical. You will incur a lot of cost to apportion that. So we end up grouping it into kind of fixed cost, because whether we are producing or not, we still need light. Okay. Now there is also another element called the semi-variable cost. The semi-variable cost that lie between fixed and lie between variable. All right. And you remember that classification when we are discussing about cost classification. We have semi-variable, we have fixed, and we have variable. So the semi-variable can fall either side, depending on the nature of the organization, nature of production, nature of utilization that you are using the material for. So it is here and there, but it depends on the organization a lot, how they classify certain costs, whether fixed or variable. So it's not something that can be predetermined. It is dependent on the several factors. So organizations can say that when it comes to this, then we have to classify it under fixed cost. When it comes to this, then we have to classify it under variable cost. Then it is easier to apportion that because you can allocate it to every unit of production. Okay.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you for your support. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question? So as I was explaining about the exam, so the things that we've been doing, the illustrations that we've been going through the class, and the questions that we've been addressing in our discussions, and the assignments will count towards your revision for this examination. So it will not come out of what we have discussed, but within what we have discussed, and all areas are relevant. You may find a question that is a case study where you need now to apply the techniques that you have learned in this course to solve probably a given question, all right, or a given situation. As a manager, how do you apply whatever you've learned to solve such kind of situation? You may also get a question that things that we've just been doing, a general question that will need knowledge from all parts of the course, and try to bring on board what you've learned, and if possible, give examples of situations like that. Otherwise, I want to wish you all the best, and thanks for being part of this class. As I said, my lines are still free. My email addresses are still open. If you have any questions, you're free to ask. We are being asked by the administration that we need to forward your coursework before the examination, and I'm still working on that, together with now this one that I'm expecting, so that I finish before you sit for your exam. Any comment, question?
Thank you so much,
Hello?
Doc.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, good too. Yeah, Getachew?
So far, we have counted 80%, I think. So is it the remaining will cover 20, or how we go for it?
From
the three assignments will cover 80%.
From my last from my experience with the last semester, I think assignments were taking 60%, and the final examination was taking 40%. I don't know whether it still be relevant to this exam or to this course, but that's what happened last semester. We were told that 60% is coursework, and then now the final exam is 40%. So I'm not sure whether it will remain the same or that's the policy. So if that is the policy, then it means it will remain the same.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Any other question?
Thank you, doctor, for your patience, for your understanding, and for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you,
And,
Doc.
feel free to contact me. Corona now put us apart. Otherwise, would be meeting and talking a lot outside the class.
Can I
Just
have
to
your
know.
phone number,
Yeah.
doctor? Sorry. Can I have your phone
Okay.
number? 244-722.
It is. You have the code, right?
Yeah, I do have.
So it's 722.
Okay.
35 32
Okay.
48.
48.
So the code, and then now this is now my number 7223533 3248.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay. Any other question?
Thank you,
Clarification?
Doc.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything. We are happy to have
Thank you for everything.
Thank you and most welcome. At least I've enjoyed meeting you guys. And the only thing that I missed is meeting you face on face, just to talk more outside the class. But
Yeah.
I hope things will improve and I will be able to travel and meet probably and talk more and share more of
Thank
my
you.
experience
Yeah.
in various fields.